Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So tell me what it is you want to tell me.
So I figured we were talking about twin flames tonight, right? So
Yeah.
I'm sorry for my wet hair. Just got out of the shower.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah. So anyway, so they're just, I don't know that it means anything because I don't feel like it means anything. It doesn't matter to me. And we talk about the synchronicities in the numbers, and it's just been like, and his birthday is the 22nd of a month, right? Actually, it's 11/22, which if you think 2 times 11 is 22, and he already has the 11, he's filled with 11s. So I've been seeing like 22 everywhere a lot, like constantly. So it's noticeable. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of weird. And I'm seeing 11s constantly in my 43s. You know, the numbers that I see, I'm seeing constantly. But the last few days, it's just been 22, 22, 22. And then the only reason I'm bringing this up is because when I was going through the apparent twin flame stuff, the the whatever that is, a journey, whatever people want to label it. My coach had said to me, like, you're going, and you see the signs and their name and other stuff anyway during the journey anyway. You do, but when it becomes like this, it's so freaking noticeable. So I'm seeing his family because apparently if you are the same energy, you resonate with what he resonate apparent him. You resonate with the same people and the same things, songs, whatever. So now all of a sudden, his granddaughter is showing up in my Facebook, people, which I thought was odd. And then again today, his wife shows up again, and the people, and his sister-in-law. It's just really weird that it's just like I'm, and I'm seeing the car that he was driving when we were together, like everywhere. I'm like, this is you can't help but notice it. It's like a lot. I'm like, okay, it doesn't mean anything, but it is strange.
It is. It's really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I resonate with that because same thing apparently happened over here too, I get it. I get it, but then I don't because I don't know why all those things happened the way they did. I don't know. I wish there was I wish there was an answer,
yeah. Well, what I
because it's so like magical in its own way.
it's interesting for sure. Like before, I would attach a meaning to it or whatever and think that it meant something, but and maybe it does. I don't even know. I mean, what is it? But I did notice that when, you know, his wife came up this time in my people, there wasn't that flutter of fear that, when this has happened in the past, not there's always been a fear of emotion that comes up, and that's fine. If somebody's watching this video and you have fear around your twin, fucking normal. It's so normal. And it'll go when it goes, right? But there's always been a flutter when, like a fear, oh, like, because, that was to the person that was hurtful when he got married. It freaking, that was huge. And it was my biggest fear and it had to be shown to me. I think that, but this time when she came up in my feed, it was just like, oh, that's enough. It was them in their wedding picture, whatever. It didn't hurt. Like that felt so good. To be honest, that not have the fear attachment to that anymore. Like it's perfectly fine. It doesn't, there's no attachment to whether he's married or not or any of it anymore.
Apparently so much time has passed since then, and you've had time to probably
Process 4.5
process
years.
everything. And yeah, and that's why that fear kind of just eventually kind of just dwindles away on its own.
Thank goodness. Because for those of you who are watching who have been through this journey, Shannon and I have both been through it. We've been where you are. If you're, not everybody has the same apparent experience, but if you're having the obsessive thoughts and all of the craziness that goes with it, and it feels like it will never stop, it will. It feels like it won't. I mean, I've been in other relationships. It wasn't like, this was a parent relationship that I hadn't been in a relationship for so long and had one. I've been in bad breakups. I've had plenty of relationships, and this is different. You'll know it's different because you'll know it's different. That's all I can say. You'll know. It's
Well,
different.
it was most definitely different for me with the one guy because with all that, actually with the three different connections that I had, they were kind of similar but not. Um, the second one with the obsessive thinking really tripped me up because I barely knew his ass. I only knew him for 3 months, and that was like a dagger to my fucking ego, apparently, right? Because I normally don't do that. I don't get attached to people that easy after fucking 3 months of dating them. You know, I was married for 11 years and that was hard. But this one was just, I think it was, and this is what I want to talk about. And by the way, did you do the thing that I told you to do? The chant?
I did.
And
Not today.
you started seeing
Like,
the relatives and shit.
yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. That is kind of weird, ain't it?
I didn't think those two coincided with each other, but yeah, maybe. Because I didn't put that together, I didn't.
You don't because you don't
I
hold
was like,
on to anything
oh,
anymore.
but maybe.
So I'm saying, like I told you, like it's crazy. I don't like I said, I don't know if one has anything to do with the other, but the same apparently is happening to me too. Like I'm like seeing things of and I'm like, why are these things showing up? Well, then I forgot that I actually said the chant, but that's a whole nother
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
But
It's listen, could be like because it's only been like 2 or 3
yeah,
days. I
yeah,
started seeing that.
told
I mean,
you.
it's just I find it a curiosity. There's no attachment to it, like you when these things happen that you reach a certain. I don't even want to say that. There comes a point where you just all these synchronicities are happening and you're not making a story about it. You're not
Because it,
creating a story
yeah,
about it. You're like, wow, that's cool. You don't even say, wow, that's cool, really. I mean, it's just like it's recognized. I see it that it's still neat though, like because it's so random, you can't create it. You just turn your head and you'll see the 11 in a weird way, or you'll see it. It's just so constant on the microwave. Like it's just so constant.
yeah,
You just go, wow, wow. I mean, in the beginning, when you remember when we first started seeing the numbers in the journey, where it was so like
new,
magic. Oh my God, what does it mean?
new. It was new
Yeah.
to us. That's what I wanted to talk about. I do remember all the stages, apparent stages, because they say, there's apparently on the twin flame journey, you go through all these different stages, right?
Right.
And now I don't even know what that is. I don't, I feel like it was just what was happening.
Yeah.
And um, but yeah, you go through all these stages, and I remember after apparently parting ways from my apparent twin flame. Um, the songs is what started first. And no, first what started was the anxiety of, oh my God, like I felt like a part of me was leaving my body. It was the craziest feeling. And it was like I couldn't stop thinking about it. Was the obsessive thinking, and I thought, what the fuck is this? I don't really know this guy like this. Why am I? And it was that ego, right? My ego was being like, because I've never in my life experienced this before with someone that I barely knew. So that was driving me crazy. And then after that, I guess the next apparent stage was the songs playing in patterns. And they were like songs that I don't even think he listened to country music, I think, but it was just the same fucking songs kept playing over. And songs I haven't heard in a long time, like years ago. It were just playing in patterns all day, every day. It didn't matter where I was going. It was like Groundhog's Day. It was like that movie, Groundhog's Day. I felt like when you get up in the morning and it starts, and you're hearing the same things and you're going through the same. That's how I felt. I felt like, oh my God, this is insane. Like, what is this? And then I started to see 1010. That was the next stage. I was seeing like 1010 every fucking where. And then that's when I met my friend Tawny. And then she had brought up her guy and said, yeah, he's my, and I was telling her what I was experiencing. And that's when she said, oh my God, that's a twin flame thing. That's what she told me. And I said, what the fuck is a twin flame? She said, go Google it, go look it up. So my dumb ass did, but I didn't know what a damn twin flame was. And I looked it up. When I did do that, I became more obsessive because I resonated so much with the story that it
Yeah.
was, you know what I'm saying? I resonated with everything it was saying. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is it. This is what I'm going through right now. And I really believed in it. I believed, oh my God, it is my twin flame. And this is it.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
What else was the other stage? And it was the music. And then the birds started to happen. And I'll never forget pulling out my driveway and that damn song from Twilight came on, 1,000 Years. And I never even heard that song before, but it fucking came on. And I watched Twilight, but I don't remember the song, you know, because I really wasn't, yeah, it was a nice song, but I wasn't there at the time, you know what I mean?
All right. Me
So,
either.
yeah, right. So as I was pulling out, something told me to look at a telephone pole, and sure enough, there was a fucking crow looking at me. And I felt the need. It was like something, like my eyes were guided to look at this damn crow. And he was like cocking his head and looking at me like, what's and I said, you know, that motherfucker looking at me, right? I was just like really thrown off, right? So as I'm pulling out, I'm like, all right.
Now. What the hell?
I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I started to drive more, and then another one landed on another telephone pole and was looking at me and shit. And then another one landed on another. It did this the whole way to work. They were just landing from and then Tawny was so funny. I don't know how. It's by us having that fucking conversation about twin flame. I don't know what happened, but it was like it connected us because she came in that night and it was pouring down rain, and she came on my ward because I worked, you know, with mental patients. I don't even like saying that word, but it's a certain word for it. But I was working there, and yeah, so she came on my ward and she was soaking wet, and she said, "Oh my God, Shannon." I said, "What?" Because I was monitoring the patient. She was like, "You'll never believe what happened to me." And I'm like, "What?" She was like, "Crows followed me all the way to work."
Oh my God.
So I'm like,
We're so,
"Me
yeah.
too." Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What the hell?" And she said, "We need to go have a drink." She goes, "We need to talk about this." You know, and then she told me when we got there, she said that the song was playing for her. She said it kept playing on repeat on her alarm clock the night before she saw the crows.
1,000 Years.
Yes.
There's
And
something about that song because Yasmin had that song too, and there's something in that song. I don't know what it is, and I mean it's just part of the illusion or whatever. But that song seems to come up for a lot of people for
yeah,
some reason.
right. It does. And and then it was after that, it was constant. You know, it would come on, and me and her, it connected us. And we had a bond that no one could ever understand because we were apparently experiencing the same fucking shit.
We're
And
fortunate to have someone to talk to
to
about it.
do that, yeah. Yeah. And the numbers, you know, I told her I was seeing 1010 at the time, and she was seeing 1111. And then eventually I started seeing 1111, and all the other numbers started to fall into play after that. And then me and her got into looking up the Google, you know, the angel numbers, and me and her would exchange information. And it really became a fairy tale for us. And we would go on long trips and hike and stuff just to connect to earth and the trees and the birds and shits. This thing, you know, to level, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is
To
really what
ground yourself. Get
yeah,
grounded.
to ground ourselves, because we really felt like we needed to center ourselves. And now there is no centering yourself. There is no getting out of what's already apparently happening.
Right.
So, I mean, it is what it is, but I do remember all the stages apparently that they say a twin flame goes through. What did you go through what's your story?
Well, the whole nature thing, like you, there was 1,000 years. I started hearing that
What
song.
was the first thing you experienced though before? What was the first stage you had?
Well, the obsessive thoughts, I thought that would never stop. That was torture for me because it felt like it was happening to me. I couldn't stop. And I was scared because I was like, I didn't even, it got to the point where I didn't care if he came back because I was so obsessed with him coming back. But with the obsessive thoughts, I was so desperate for them to stop that I didn't care if he came back. I just wanted my sanity because I felt like I couldn't. It was like my mind was just. I was like, "What's wrong with me? This isn't normal to think about a person." It wasn't even like. It's just your mind is just. It's just stuck in. Feels like stuck in that mode, and you can't get out of it. For any of you who are watching this who are experiencing it, we get it. That sucks. So there was that. The obsessive thoughts were the worst, but I was having all kinds of like energetic things in my body that I didn't know what was wrong. I was sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night at the most. I was reading everything I could get my hands on. That was the obsessive thoughts really started before I knew what twin flames were because I remember feeling like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Like I feel like I can't function. This is insanity. Like I've never obsessed about anyone like this. I mean, we've all had breakups where we think about somebody for, and hard, you miss them or whatever, but this was different. I was having weird things at night, weird energetic, weird things going through my body, crazy dreams about being led through tunnels by a spirit, like a spiritual guide person. I don't
Yeah.
know what that was about. I was having that. I lost 45 pounds in like 8 weeks, just dropped off. Wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating, felt like my life had no meaning, wanted to die. Basically, I just would lay on the floor and cry and beg God to kill me, like so many other people who have gone through this have had that experience. Like I just didn't even know how it was going to continue. And then I hated myself because I didn't recognize myself as this person who had, it was it's pretty hard in the beginning, but then I started seeking. I came across twin flames, read about it like you, and was like, oh my God. Because if you have an illness and you see that you have all the symptoms, whether it be cancer or anything else, you're like, oh shit, like I have this. So that's how it was. And I became obsessed with that. And I was watching all the tarot card readings at 50,000 a day, the divine masculine. I mean, it seems to be commonplace for a lot of people to go through this stuff. And then I found my twin flame coach. He started telling me, things to do, read The Power of Now. That was the beginning of my seeking. But that also, I feel, was opening a window to seeing what I really was. Because the more present, apparently, that I became, the more a energetically I felt peaceful. That's the only way. And then it just became more seeking, more seeking, more seeking. It's a process, man. I mean, some people can get over it within a year or so, but I hear the 5 years a lot. Don't feel bad if you're watching this and you're thinking 5 years. Because if someone had said to me 5 years in the beginning, I just would have fell off the
Yeah.
bed.
There's so many stories with that. That's the thing. Is like there's
The
5 years,
year.
there's 10, 20 years.
I'm
I
4
mean,
and in. I feel
yeah.
really good, but it was every bit of a process. And did you feel like during this journey, did you feel like there was a veil, a wall, a little thin something in the
Apparently that's what the spiritual when the spiritual community they say that there's like there is the veil, and then the veil thins, and you're able
that's
to
what it
see
felt like.
things clearly once it
It
thins.
felt like a sheet. There was something, it felt like energetically there was I can't describe, there's so no words for it, but it felt like there was something blocking my full view of the truth. And then it finally went away, whatever that was. I don't know what it was, but I called it the veil because I could feel it or feel like it was sensing it, not see it, but sensed it. Like the difference between the story, the personhood, and what you really are. I felt like there was a veil. There's no other way to describe it until it wasn't there anymore.
Well, when I apparently woke up is when I was like, wow. And I didn't even look at it as a veil anymore. It was just like, wow, like everything. everything that I thought was true is not. And there's no, and to realize that there's not even in everything. And now, I mean, I'm speaking non-dual talk, but it was like there was nothing. And that's because I knew with spirituality and religion and all that, that wasn't, I always felt like there was just something not right. And then once I came across Kenneth Madden, is when I finally was seeing that, oh my gosh, this is it. Because I
Yeah.
never felt like anything else was it. Because I was like always reaching and seeking and wanting and da, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And I was like, this cannot be it. Like, this is just, I don't know. I always felt like there's something else here that I'm not seeing.
I
And
felt like reaching,
you feel it?
seeking,
Yeah.
trying to find the answer. It was like looking for a buried treasure and saying, you knew it wasn't, that's not it. That's not it. Like there was something that was still felt off. And it was the personhood, apparently, right? That was
Yeah.
off. But the person will never get it because it's not from the person. And there's no way to describe Kenneth Madden um, is great as a non-dual speaker. If somebody's watching this and you want to explore that, for me, it was Tony Parsons, but there's so many great speakers out there who talk about non-duality. So
Yeah. So many. And that's just it. It's like people try so hard to understand it, and it's not an understanding.
no,
Can't understand it
you'll
because then,
never get here.
yeah,
You'll never sit here. Your mind and personality, person, whatever, will never get it because it's not, they're not real. The mind and the ego, all that stuff isn't real, but what you really are always knows it. It's there's
yeah,
no
it's the
knowing, but
resonating
it
mostly. Like
resonates.
it's like an energetic resonation, resonating. I think, but I really don't know. But um, yeah, when it's seen, it's seen.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought that was, I just hear a lot of twin flame, coaches and teachers. They sit and say, well, you got to go through all these different stages, and if you go through all these different stages, then you know that that's your twin flame. But that's what I get upset about, because I'm like, yeah, you can't say that, because everyone's story is so different, and it fucks people up that
Yeah.
are going through certain things, and they're being told that that ain't it. You know what I mean? And really, there is no twin flame. I don't know what that is. In the story, I used to believe that there was such thing as a twin flame, and you go through all these different stages, and you do this
Yeah.
and that and that. But now I have realized that it's just what's appearing to happen. It's
Right.
just what's happening, and there's no like explanation to why it even happened. It's truly unknown.
There's
But
no what you call it, a twin flame thing. You call it that, you label it like you'd label a bird on a tree a cardinal, but it's not. It's not a cardinal. You don't know that it's just a name that was given to it, so
yeah,
everyone that you don't know what that is. It's a beautiful red bird, apparently, in the illusion, but we don't know what that is. We even a bird is saying too much. We don't know what that is.
right.
There,
Yeah. And that's why I feel like it's for people to be on there saying, well, you ain't doing this and you ain't doing that, then that's not it. But everyone's story is so different. You hear so many, even when you go on the internet, like you see so many different stories of what people go through or what they have. And I can actually resonate with two different ones. I've had ones where it's the runner chaser all the time, constant runner chaser thing. And then you have the ones that have the long drawn out separation. And then you have people that like me that have gone through different experiences with three different men. And I will never know what that was. And it's kind of weird how they all kind of fell together like they did. But a teacher will say, well, one was your karmic, and the other one was your fake twin flame, and the other one was your real twin. No, you can't say that, because we don't know. We don't know what any of that fucking shit is.
right.
But apparently it happened, you know? Apparently it happened. But is there anything else you want to talk about, or?
Well, I'm just, um, everyone, like you said, experiences if everything in their own way. And there's no one doing it. So to say, oh, it's going to take, for your twin to come back, your twin may never, they may, the physical form may never, ever show up again. It's not about them, I think. I don't think that, at least what I resonate with now is that that was an opportunity or whatever. That whole thing happened the way it was going to happen. I never had any control over it anyway.
Yeah,
So that just unfolded the way it unfolded. There's no getting I got to do this to get my twin to come back. No, none of that. Whatever's going to happen between you and this apparent other human being, physical form of you, is going to happen the way it's going to happen. There is no you to control it. It's going to unfold the way it's going to unfold. There's nothing you can do about it. They're going to come back or they're not going to come back. You're going to be with them or you're not going to be with them. But there's no you who's ever going to make that decision. That's just going to happen or not. And the beauty of that is to be at peace with no matter what comes up, whether it be a twin flame or stubbing your toe on the coffee table. You're going to experience whatever you're going to experience while you're experiencing it, including the apparent twin. You can't help it if you're obsessing about it, and you can't help it if you're not obsessing about it. It's
yeah.
what's happening.
Once I let go, and I'm not saying this is going to happen for everyone, but once I let go of that, the whole story of it, of you can't do this, and you can't obsess, you can't do that, blah, 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 all that stuff. Once I let go of that and kind of was just being my authentic self. And if I felt like I wanted to look on her page, or if I felt like I wanted to do this and that, I fucking just did it. It was no longer, there wasn't that fear anymore of, oh my God, if I do that, then this is gonna, you know what I mean? They're not gonna come and all that. No, it's like I just was like, whatever, it is what it is. And that's when he came. To be honest with you, that's when he came. Is when I
Yeah.
was just being, and I didn't really care one way or the other. I was just, if I was thinking about him, I was thinking about it. If I wasn't, I wasn't. It wasn't a big deal anymore for me. I just allowed things to kind of, and I didn't allow it, but it just kind of unfolded the way it did. And I feel like people try so hard to get out of being authentically who they are, because they feel like they can't do certain things. And it creates that restriction, that uncomfortable feeling. And once I got out of that and kind of just was like, fuck it. And I'm not saying this is going to happen for everyone else, because I'm not going to blow smoke up no one's ass, because I don't know. I don't know how and when the twin flame will ever magically appear. There's no, like, it's really unknown. But for me, that I noticed that when I started to kind of just not give a fuck and just kind of was accepting things for what it was, whether I was thinking about him, wasn't thinking about him, I accepted it for what it was. And boom, he showed
Well,
up.
that's being authentic, right? Like that's self-love. I mean, for lack of a better word, that's loving yourself. And that's not like going to the spa and getting a pedicure. That's not what I'm talking about. It's like being
Yeah.
you, accepting whatever you are. And that's love, because you're not beating yourself up or hating yourself. Oh, I'm fat, or I'm this, or and that can come up too. And that's okay. But there's the self-loathing and all that stuff that causes suffering. That's not what you are. You're so much more than your mind and this illusion tells you are. When you become, like you said, neutral and peaceful, and you're going to have moments in traffic or whatever. I'm not talking about all the time. I'm talking about like when you're accepting of yourself, you're not resisting what's coming up. You're
Mm-hmm.
flowing with whatever happens. That's when you are so powerful and you don't know it. I'm not saying you. I'm talking about you're just existing and being what you are. There is no one here to make decisions, or it looks like it's an illusion, but whatever is unfolding is going to unfold. the
Hmm.
way it's supposed to unfold. Even if there's a preference that it didn't unfold that way, it's still going to unfold the way it's going to unfold. The more you recognize that as a, as this energy, I think the more peaceful. I don't even want to say happy, but the more relaxed you are. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I felt more like I didn't care anymore. Like, I don't know. I just, because I used to stop myself. I used to be really mad at myself for like obsessing and shit and just like I was really hard on myself. I really wanted to get my chakras cleared. I wanted to do all that stuff because I was like, God, I just I'm a chaser. I'm chasing, and then remember I said it in my video. If you want to chase that motherfucker, chase them. If that's what's coming up for you, that's what's coming up for you. And it's the accepting is freedom. When you
Yeah.
actually can accept that and you're okay with that, that's liberation. That's freedom. And that's what happened is that apparently is that there was this acceptance here. And then all of a sudden, that's when he appeared out of nowhere. And I'm not saying that's why he appeared because I really don't know. I don't know if one has anything to do with the other. I could never really say that. But it's kind of weird how it all kind of fell together the way it did. It was noticed that it kind of all fell together like that. But it's a mystery.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a true mystery. Mm-mm-mm.
But it's, and it is a mystery, but I'm grateful. There's gratitude here, even though there's no person, but there's a feeling of like, man, I am so grateful that shit appeared to happen that way, because it's so hard to explain. There's so much more peace here now than when before the apparent journey started. I was
Right?
so stuck in like anger, narcissism, fear of not having money, all these fears and crazy like imaginary problems that I was creating, and all this stress and upset. And that's not there anymore. I can get briefly upset, like, things, but I don't stay in that energy anymore and any of that. It always seems to flow back to just what's happening the moment now, whatever you want to call it, presence. I don't know, for lack of any other label. It just happens to be relaxed for the most part. I love this existence now. I accept it for what comes in. I may not like it sometimes, preferences for it not to be a certain way some days, but
Yeah.
there's no long suffering stories anymore. I love that.
Do you remember one thing I do remember during this whole parent journey was do you did they ever tell you that you needed to connect to your inner child because that's where your twin flame was?
Not the coaches I had. They
Yeah,
told me that. I mean, and they would say, "Don't do that. Don't believe that. Don't
the
focus on
story.
it at all. Don't do any of that."
It's the fairy tale story, or like your higher self is your twin flame. And then none of that is true.
I
I don't
read
even know
that.
what that
My
is.
coach never said that. I did read that stuff online and stuff, but my coaches never said that.
I used to do tarot readings on divine masculine and divine feminine. I really believed in that story. And the spiritual, I was telling Yasmin, like the spiritual community always talks about you're not separate. There is no separation, but yet they'll say you got feminine energy and masculine energy, and both that's separate because you're
Yeah.
saying one a feminine and a masculine that's two separate things, and it's
Imaginary.
really confusing for the person,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
I put all those tarot cards in the beginning. Feminine,
I
divine feminine.
know.
Look, I would binge watch them 10 hours a day.
I
It's
was one
insane.
of those tarot readers that would read on the divine masculine and divine feminine. I had so many people that would tune into that shit. And now when I look back, I was like, I don't even know what the fuck I was talking about. Really, I didn't know.
I would see tarot card readers quit though. I mean, I watched them for, I want to say, 2 or 3 months. I don't know how long I did it. I mean, there's no sense of time anymore about anything, but
Yeah.
there would be ones that would wake up, obviously, and I didn't even know. They were like, "Yeah, I'm not doing this anymore." Like, and they would leave. They would be done, and I would go on to the next. But that happened 2 or 3 times where they would just stop.
Yeah, I stopped the divine masculine feminine readings. Oh God. I mean, in fact, if you look all the way at the bottom, you'll find one of those. I never deleted
I
it.
don't even know if I can sit through a tarot card reading
I
anymore.
know,
I
I
don't
know.
know if I mean, not, I mean, they're cool and there's some truth in
Oh
them
yeah,
because
I love doing tarot. I do. I enjoy the because whatever is coming up in the energy of the cards, I love it. I love what the card says when it falls out. I love reading
my
it.
daughter does too. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
remember
love that. It's fun.
I got a deck and I remember like reading the instructions. I had to sleep with it in my bed and all this stuff. For the first, I mean, I was reading all the directions. I couldn't do it. I do really like short ones, like 8 cards or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I think tarot is really cool
Oh yeah,
and
I
it's
think it's
fun.
fun. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's a hobby for me. I love doing it just because I like reading the cards. It's like reading a book, really. You get to read the cards and you get to see what it says in it.
Oh, I think it's fun.
But
I'd like to do a reading. You don't have to do one for me.
uh,
Tell me
hey,
all
I
about
enjoy
my
it.
divine masculine.
Oh, the divine masculine. That shit right there. And I don't even know how that came about like it did, but it did. And I ended up reading on divine masculine and divine. I bought tarot cards that said that, had the divine masculine, divine feminine on them. And I really believed in that. And there's a lot of people out there that do believe that there is such thing as a divine feminine and divine masculine energy. And there is no separation. There is no separation at all.
No, no,
Um,
not at all.
yeah, not at all. But that's a whole nother ball game.
I want when you do. I want you to read your my do a card reading from your forbidden tarot deck.
The forbidden.
The deck that the lady didn't want anyone else to use her cards anymore.
That, yeah, she became religious.
Yeah, isn't that
She told
weird?
everybody to burn her. It's this deck right here. I have it.
I want to
So
that one.
she said that she doesn't believe in it anymore, and that she's religious now, and this is evil. These are all evil.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, and there was another tarot reader that went super religious that I used to watch for, and she used to do divine feminine and divine masculine, and now she's super religious, and she's saying it's the devil and all that.
So strange.
It
I'm
kind
no
of
judge.
creeped me out a
I'm
little
trying
bit.
to judge, but this seems weird that you would go from being spiritual
Spiritual
to going back into yeah,
religion.
yeah.
We're about to shut off soon here, but it
Okay,
was quick, wasn't it?
sure seemed like it. It was
Right?
fun.
It
It
was
was
fun. It was fun. I enjoyed this. We'll talk more about it for sure. We'll have more when we're
okay.
not so busy.
I know. For anyone watching, though, you're going to be okay. Just keep watching Shannon. She'll help you. She helped me when I was at the tail end of my journey and I was still seeking.
Oh,
So you really helped me, as far as realizing some stuff and having some, I resonated with you. So I'm glad we're friends.
oh, me too. I love you.
I love you too.
All right. Thank you. And we will talk some more. I'll get a hold of you. I'll message you.
Okay, hon. Have a
All
good night.
right. Good
Bye.
night.
Night.
Bye.